بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وسيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أدخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and the Merciful, and may the peace and blessings of Allah Azza wa Jalla be upon His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi, and upon his family and his companions, and upon all of those who follow in his footsteps. May Allah enlighten us with understanding. May Allah enlighten us with knowledge. May Allah bring us nearer to Him. May Allah Azza put this gathering in our scales of good deeds and brighten our faces when we find out the reward of sitting to learn about His glorious presence for His sake. May Allah Azza wa Jal bring us into the company of the righteous and the company of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. The topic of the names of Allah, dear brothers and sisters, has always been a topic that appeals to people. It's a topic that engenders interest and passion, yet it's a topic that most Muslims are very unfamiliar with. It is probably because of the lack of literature, lack of resources on it, whatever the reason. Our relationship with the names of Allah is very superficial, and it's almost reduced to technical understanding. Perhaps we know a couple of things about a couple of names. Perhaps we have memorized and recited few names, but we never understand the connection of those names to our lives. What Allah has meant behind those names. So Imam al-Ghazali says about this, just to highlight for you how significant this subject is and why we need to be keen on learning it. Imam al-Ghazali said that whoever learns everything in existence, all subjects of knowledge, including those of faith and religion, those that are quote-unquote secular, not that there's anything called secular knowledge in Islam. All knowledge is sacred. But suppose you possess all of knowledge. He says, if you possess all of knowledge and do not know Allah Azza wa Jalla, then you are called ignorant. So scholars deem it as the essential, most important of all forms of knowledge. Without the knowledge of Allah, dear brothers and sisters, we have no idea where we came from and where we're going. Without the knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jalla, we have no idea why we're even doing the acts of worship. Without the knowledge of Allah, dear brothers and sisters, our faith and our deen are empty. They're reduced to rituals. The reason that many of us are struggling in our relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal and with our religion, and why we complain about our lack of iman and struggle with having to perform the duties that Allah has asked us for, is once again because we don't know Allah Azza wa Jal enough. So Allah says, before you know anything, you have to know me. And when you know me, you will love me. And when you love Allah, you'll draw near to Allah Azza wa Jal. So the objective, dear brothers and sisters, behind this series, I could summarize in two words. Ma'rifatullah, knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal. Now what could be a more glorious topic to address? What could be more sacred? What could be a better journey? Discovery, dear brothers and sisters, and finding things out in life delivers joy. So imagine now when you come to learn of something beyond the realm of the physical. When we discover something from this world, we're very happy. It gets you excited. Even when you figure out how to work out a math formula, the pleasure of working out that problem is unparalleled. And that's just something from this life. Imagine when you get a spiritual insight about something beyond this world, how good you feel. When you have that thing in your heart, you find something else. You make a connection. Perhaps between an experience and your faith. Perhaps between meeting a human being and something spiritual has gone on between you and them, and you feel like that love in your heart. You know how good it feels? It's because it's something spiritual. The spiritual is infinite. So the joy that comes from experiencing something spiritual has a higher state of joy. Imagine now when we're finding out something about Allah Azza wa Jalla. How well or how good will that feel in our heart? Nothing like it, dear brothers and sisters. The essence of all of this is once again knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And pretty much the scholars have summarized the entire journey of the human being with Allah Azza wa Jalla in 3 words. They say that it's essential to get to know Allah as the most fundamental thing in your existence. Because once you get to the knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jalla, you will inevitably love Allah. The most immediate fruit of the knowledge of Allah is that you will adore Allah Azza wa Jalla. So the reason we don't love Allah Azza wa Jalla is we don't know Allah. It's like somebody who's an extraordinary human being, very noble, very kind, very generous. But you have never seen this generosity, this kindness. You've never met that person. So even if people tell you, oh, he's an incredible human being, it's like, okay, great. You might admire him in general, but you have no love for him. Now when you come and experience that generosity from that human being, and they're kind with you, and they treat you so nobly, and they're there for you, they help you out, day in and day out, every single moment. How do you feel about them? Now, not only do you know them, you love them because of the things they've helped you with. That's Allah Azza wa Jalla, dear brothers and sisters, without analogy or without comparison. He's above comparisons. When you get to know Allah and who Allah is, and what His attributes and qualities, and how much He is there for you, and the presence He has in your life, without us knowing, you will inevitably adore Allah Azza wa Jalla. But what happens when you adore a human being? Don't you love to spend time with them? To be there for them when they need something? And imagine a human being who's always been there for you. If they ask you for help, what do? If you're good-natured, you'll instantly jump to help them out. You'll be there for them because they've always been there. So knowledge of Allah leads to loving Allah, and if you love Allah, what will you do? Obey Him. SubhanAllah, dear brothers and sisters. And when you obey Allah, what happens? You'll be happy. Because Allah does not give us or command us to do anything to make us miserable. That's something we do not understand. You'll hear a lot of Muslims saying, it's very difficult. So indeed it becomes difficult when you don't know Allah Azza wa Jalla. Extremely difficult. But when you know Allah, you'll be rushing to please Allah Azza wa Jalla. That's how glorious Allah is. And when you do what Allah wants you to do, you'll be a very happy human being. Can you imagine that the objective behind our existence, why Allah created us, is for us to be happy? Most of us do not understand this. We think Allah just created us to make us actually miserable, make our lives difficult. Far from it, dear brothers and sisters. If we ever have any doubt about the fact that Allah created us to be happy, then we do not know Allah. I'll give you an example. I'll share some verses in the Quran with you. Allah says in Surah Ṭāhā, He's addressing the Prophet ﷺ. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ṭāhā, مَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ لِتَشْقَى. The scholars say that Ṭāhā is one of the names for the Prophet ﷺ. Some say it's not. Regardless, Allah is saying to the Prophet ﷺ in the beginning of this surah, O Muhammad, we have not revealed to you the Qur'an for you to be burdened and miserable. I want you to compare our experience to that statement. Most of us don't even want to open the Qur'an. We think the Qur'an is nothing but a book filled with commandments to make our lives difficult. We have no idea what this divine book is. It came from the heavens, dear brothers and sisters. So listen to what he tells the Prophet ﷺ. I did not reveal the Qur'an to you to make you burdened and miserable. إِلَّا تَذْكِرَةً لِمَنْ يَخْشَى. This is a book, divine book, as a reminder for those who are conscious of Allah. Those who desire Allah, love Allah, want to be with Allah, they'll look at that book as the guide, as the light that will take me to Allah. Reminder. Without that book, dear brothers and sisters, can you imagine what life means? I want you to think about this gift called the Qur'an. What is life without the Qur'an? How do we know where to go? How do we know actually about the reason why we exist? How do we know even about the prophets? Their stories are in the Qur'an. We have no idea about our past, what we mean, who we are, what our missions are, who Allah is. We have no idea about anything. We have no idea where we're going. We have no idea what the Day of Judgment means, nor Jannah, nor Hellfire. We have no idea about what it means to be accountable. We have no idea about what it means to be noble. That's what the Qur'an is, dear brothers and sisters, taking us from darkness to light. So Allah is saying, it's nothing but a reminder to put you back on the track, for you to make it and be happy. إِلَّا تَذْكِرَةً لِمَنْ يَخْشَى. In case you're doubting that this book is there to make you happy and really enlighten your life. If anybody has doubts about this, Allah is asking, look who wrote it. Look who sent it. And then you'll know the answer. تنزيلا, it was revealed. It was descended from whom? مِمَّنْ خَلَقَ الْأَرْضَ وَالسَّمَاوَاتِ الْعُلَى. It was revealed from the one who created this earth and the higher heavens. He's asking us to contemplate upon the meaning of this. Most of us gloss over these verses. Wow, the one who created this earth and the higher heavens revealed the book. Do you think the one who put you on this earth, rounded this earth, sent it to float in an orbit around the sun, and the galaxy moving, and those higher heavens that are so glorious and beautiful, who preserves them, upkeeps them, is sending a book to make you miserable? Nonsense. So Allah is saying, think about the creation around you and who created it. The one who created all of this is the one sending you the book. تَنزِيلًا مِمَّنْ خَلَقَ الْأَرْضَ وَالسَّمَاوَاتِ الْعُلَى الرَّحْمَنُ عَلَى الْعَرْشِ اسْتَوَى. Then he says he's the beneficent, who is leveled on the throne. Allahu la ilaha illahu lahu al-asma'ul husna. This is how it's wrapped up. Then he says, to confirm, Allah, the personal name of Allah. He's telling us, Allah, just say it, Allah. La ilaha illahu. There's no God but Him. You have none but Him. You have no one to nurture you or care for you except Him, even if all of humanity leaves you. I'm always there for you. I'm actually caring for you without you even knowing. My mercy comes to you and surrounds you before you even need that mercy. Your entire life is a manifestation of my mercy. Manifestation of my care, even if you don't know it. And I'll care for you and my eyes on you, even if you don't see me. Even if you're not conscious of me. You cannot live without me. I'm the source of your sustenance and life. No God but me. To me belong the most glorious, sublime, beautiful names. What does that mean, dear brothers and sisters? Allah saying, the one who created the earth and the heavens. Look at him and how beautiful. Look at that structure above us, dear brothers and sisters. It's impressive. Look at this building right here. This room, it has to be standing on pillars. How many of us look at the heavens as Allah says, look at it? Are there any cracks as we walk? To just show you how desensitized we are. Bother to stop one moment and look up at the heavens. Besides saying, wow, it's blue. There isn't a single building or construction that anyone can create except that it has flaws in it. Allah is telling us, I challenge you. Find a flaw. Find a crack. You see how smooth it looks? And there are no pillars. And that's what you can see. You don't even understand the size of the heavens. This realm, Earth, and the galaxy in this universe is nothing but a speck. Grain of sand in the ocean of the first heaven. And the first heaven is nothing but a grain of sand in the ocean of the second heaven. Imagine how big they are and not a crack. Impressive or not? So Allah says, look at the one who created that and created earth. The one who possesses the most glorious and beautiful qualities. Do you think somebody who possesses all these incredible qualities of mercy, of giving, of care and affection, the beautiful one, the source of life, the everlasting, the nurturer, all these qualities, and he's just, for some reason, he decided to make you miserable. That's what the verses are saying. So Allah is letting us answer that question. If we contemplate about what He's saying, we'll rush to Allah Azza wa Jalla. But it's these verses, among many in the Quran, as if to say, come to my glorious qualities and learn about them. You'll come to love me. Indeed, dear brothers and sisters, if you come to learn about Allah, you'll adore and love Allah. You'll fall in love with Allah inevitably. Because you know what, dear brothers and sisters? Our souls inside yearn for Allah. We do not know this. The need inside, we're created with an essential need to find our Creator. To not be able to live without Him. Like a little kid cannot live without his mother or her mother. We human beings are like orphans without Allah. We can never divorce ourselves from Allah. He's always there for us. It's not like we're orphans, but without us spiritually knowing Allah, we're like those orphans struggling. So the soul is telling you, find your Lord, find your Creator. You'll never be happy without Him. We'll adore Allah. We'll love Allah if we know Him, dear brothers and sisters. Finally, we understand that there is a wise one behind everything that happens in our lives. Your souls and hearts will settle. You'll not be concerned or worried anymore. Not angry. Not in a state of despair. Not questioning and doubting things. Understanding where you came from and where you're going. You'll not have fear of things. Fear of people. You're not going to fear because they're creatures. You're going to see them as creatures of Allah. You're going to see a mighty one behind everything. And when your perspectives change to see Allah in everything around you, what happens to the heart? It's firmed up. Alhamdulillah, that I'm not a slave to anybody, I'm a slave to Allah. It gives you honor, dear brothers and sisters. And it humbles you. All of us who are obsessed with ourselves, dear brothers and sisters, thinking that we're the center of this world. Suddenly when you think of Allah, you discover there's someone much bigger than you. It humbles you. And when you're humble, dear brothers and sisters, you'll have humility with other human beings. Because you know there is a higher one, who is their Creator and your Creator, that you're accountable for. Suddenly, you feel so tiny, but not insignificant. For Allah is there for you, and He's your Creator, and He's looking out for you. Just as in Surah Ṭāhā, Allah says, I created the heavens and the earth and everything in this creation, and I gave them the means to survive. Do you think I'm going to put you on earth and not give you the means? I gave you the means to be sustained physically. Dear brothers and sisters, there are signs in this. Look at what happens. Allah puts us on earth, gives us rain, gives us a fertile earth. Miracle, wallahi, this earth is amazing. You put something in it, a fruit comes out. And we look at it, it's nothing. It's a miracle. Wallahi, dear brothers and sisters. But we take it for granted, we don't understand. So Allah is saying, the one who cared for all of this, gave it its course, gave it its mission, cared for it. I gave you water and food. I sustain you physically. You don't think I'm going to sustain you spiritually? So indeed, He gave us the track. So what is this track? The names of Allah, dear brothers and sisters. Allah says once again, Allahu la ilaha illahu, Allah, there's no God but Allah. To Him belong the most beautiful names. As if to say to us, if you want to know me, so if you can arrive at this experience of joy and happiness and find your way, if you want to know me, get to know me by my qualities and names. These are the keys. It's essential before we talk about the names of Allah in the future sessions, that we understand some of the characteristics of those names of Allah. Why are they even called names? Why are they just named attributes? Qualities. Why are they called names? Well, let us start from the beginning. Allah, as we said, gave Himself names that describe characteristics and qualities of Allah. So their names referring to, attributes of Allah Azza wa Jalla. All these attributes of Allah are amazing. With human beings, we can find 1 or 2 or 3 good qualities. Allah, dear brothers and sisters, all of His qualities are beautiful. All of them, without exception. They're mesmerizing. They're so magnificent. So what's the message here? If we are to find out about the qualities of Allah and really understand them and see the beauty of Allah in each and every one of them. So Allah's saying, what do you think will happen to your heart when you find out how good I am to you? When you examine my names and attributes, you're going to see their involvement in every aspect of your life. I am present in your life every second of the way. My attributes are all there to address your needs, but you just don't know. What will happen to your heart? You'll fall in love with Allah Azza wa Jalla. Because you're going to see all these names being not only so beautiful and glorious, He's the most generous, the most knowledgeable, the most kind, the most affectionate. And all these things are directed at you. Affectionate towards you, kind towards you, caring towards you, hearing you, seeing you, there for you. Your life is from Him. He's the one who makes you happy here and there. All His names are there to address your needs. You need guidance, He's the guide. You need healing, He calls Himself the healer. You need somebody to hear you and hear about your pain and hear your voice as you express your agonies. He's the one who says, I hear you. I'm the all-hearing one. You need somebody to see you. Allah calls Himself the one who sees everything. He's always seeing you. You have a problem, Allah calls Himself the one who opens all doors. So regardless of how big your problem is, I'll open the door for you. You're poor, you want some provision, Allah calls Himself the Razzaq, the one who provides. Another key quality of the names of Allah is that they never change. This is key, dear brothers and sisters. And all these things distinguish the qualities of Allah from the qualities of human beings. Allah says, you don't have to ever worry about this with me. If I am the generous one, I'll always be generous. I am Al-Wadud, the most affectionate. I'll never withdraw love from you. You just do not know how that love manifests in your life. I'm infinitely affectionate. Affection is absolute, dear brothers and sisters. He calls Himself Al-Ghafur, the forgiving one, eternally. That means Allah, no matter what sins you come to Him with and ask Him for forgiveness, He says, I'll forgive them. And if you have doubt about this, then you're not understanding that quality. There is no sin that is beyond the forgiveness of Allah, for He is the most forgiving. It can never be diminished or reduced. Some human beings, when they have a lot of money, for example, they can be generous. They lose the money, they cannot be generous anymore. Allah can never lose a quality. So He cannot change from being very affectionate to not being affectionate. From being very forgiveness to suddenly being just vengeful. He cannot violate His own qualities. His qualities are absolute. Allah calls Himself the all-hearing. Even without you calling on me, I hear you. He hears everybody, no matter what the language is. He hears your pain and what your heart says before you even say it with your tongue. He hears you all the time. Before you were even born, till after your death, He hears every creature. And it never changes. And the list goes on and on. This is very essential to understand. Allah's telling us essentially, don't ever worry. I'll never change on you. The qualities of Allah, the beautiful, sublime qualities of Allah are so perfect, so absolute, that Allah turned them into His names. That means they're attached to Allah. And it's all to comfort us, to tell us, don't ever worry. This is not only my quality, it's my name. So He defines that quality. He becomes that quality. Allah is generosity. Allah is affection. The very thing itself. He's the very manifestation of it. Another critical thing. When Allah describes Himself as the mighty one, or as the glorious one, or as the great one, it's not like us describing something as great. So when Allah calls Himself, or tells us something in the Quran that is great, it's not like us calling it great. Why? Because He's the Creator. His great is not like our great. So imagine now He's calling Himself the great one. His greatness is above our understanding and imagination. His generosity is way above human generosity. His affection is not like our affection. His love is not like our love. Exceeds it. It's infinite. If we really come to understand His level of affection, brothers and sisters, we'll melt out of adoration for Allah Azza wa Jalla. But we can never understand it because our intellects are limited. So when people see the face of Allah in the hereafter in Jannah, they don't want to even go back to Jannah. They don't care about anybody else. So just keep me looking at Him. The Prophet said, there is no joy that comes even close to the joy and the sweetness of seeing the face of Allah because of how beautiful He is. Imagine all of His other qualities are the same way. You will not want to be with anyone else. What if you were to find out some of these things here? You'll be at ease, tranquility. Alhamdulillah, I'm with Allah. And you look forward to seeing Allah Azza wa Jal Himself. So the Prophet ﷺ says the following: Inna lillahi tis'atan wa tis'ina isman. مئة إلا واحدة من أحصاها دخل الجنة. The Prophet is speaking of the word of learning about these names. He says Allah possesses 99 names, 100 minus 1. Whoever realizes those names enter Jannah. Now how do we understand this hadith? We think it means go memorize the names, learn their definition in Arabic, and put Jannah, mashallah. Dear brothers and sisters, Allah, the creator of the heavens and earth, do you think He's just giving us 99 things to memorize and hey, welcome to Jannah because I'm impressed with your memory? Absolutely not, dear brothers and sisters. Allah wants us to attach ourselves to Him and fall in love with Him, but you cannot fall in love with Allah without knowing Allah through His quality. So what does ahsa mean? Ahsa, dear brothers and sisters, means to have an in-depth understanding of the names, to reflect upon them, to understand their involvement in your life and how they manifest in your life, to invoke Allah with them, to look out for the meanings that relate to your own experience and perhaps, where appropriate, practice those meanings yourself. Allah is merciful. You see the manifestations of that mercy in your life. Things happen in your life, you say, Alhamdulillah, I know this is from the mercy of Allah, this happens. A door opens, you have a problem, you say, Alhamdulillah, Al-Fattah, the one who opens the door. He's the one who opened the door. He sent that human being to open the door, but it's not the human being, it's Allah. A new gift comes to you, SubhanAllah, Ash-Shakur, Allah, the appreciative one who sent me that thing, perhaps it was because of a good deed I did. You lose something, you remember, Allah is the one who owns everything. It's just the cup went back to Allah, He owns it. It's not mine. Everything that I have is Allah's. So Alhamdulillah, you see Allah behind everything through His attributes. That's ihsa. That's the knowledge that Allah wants us to have. And then to think beyond that, one step further. Well, Allah is merciful. If He is mercy, He clearly loves that quality. So what do you think He wants us to do? Be merciful. And to the extent that you're merciful, Allah will give you more mercy. Because you're saying, oh Allah, I love that in you so much. I love that mercy and I appreciate it so much. Oh Allah, look at me, I'm being merciful. Because I want more of it. Don't you think Allah will appreciate that? So Allah says, the closer you come to these qualities by practicing them, the more I'll give you from these qualities. I am the one who hears. Are you among those who hear other people? Listen to their pain, listen to their grievances, try to fulfill their needs. You fulfill their needs, I'll fulfill your needs. I'm the one who heals. Are you among those who heal? So when you start looking at these meanings and understanding or thinking or challenging, yourself to say, how can I apply these meanings with human beings around me? Now you've even come closer to those meanings. So deep understanding, reflecting on them, seeing how they relate to your life, and then practicing the meanings in those names where possible. When we come to that level of understanding, even the expression, an expression like Subhana Rabbi al-Azim becomes different. When you see how perfect is Allah, the Great One, that word great will have a different meaning in your heart. When you come and spend a moment with Allah where your eyes start tearing, when you maybe reflect upon something that Allah has done for you. You know those tears? If you catch yourself at that moment with that tear, whatever is in your heart, that's the knowledge of Allah that Allah wants us to have. Where your heart feels Allah Azza wa Jalla. Where when you repeat His name, you feel awe of Allah, admiration, adoration, absolute love for Allah Azza wa Jalla. Just as when you think of a human being that you adore and love and you feel comfort, tranquility. But Allah clearly deserves more, for He is the Creator. Many of us, dear brothers and sisters, have none of this. Very tiny, superficial knowledge of Allah. That's why we come and struggle with the salah. That's why we struggle when Allah asks us to do something for Him, to fight for a cause. That's why we struggle to spend any moment with Allah, or to sit down and make remembrance of Allah, or open His book that is there to make us happy. That's why we struggle, dear brothers and sisters. If Allah is known to us, and He indeed makes Himself known, but we have to open our eyes. If this room is unlit, suddenly turn the light on, what happens to your eyes? They hurt, initially can't see, but with time what happens? You adjust. It's an amazing quality. Similarly with Allah, dear brothers and sisters. Maybe initially you cannot understand. It's difficult. You cannot tolerate the light. But Allah says stick to it. And as you adjust, what happens? You start seeing the light. So initially, dear brothers and sisters, we cannot see, but the light is there. Allah says slowly, stick to this, to the reflections on me. Keep doing this. Be patient with it. I'll start adjusting your spirit and your soul to see this light. Ultimately, dear brothers and sisters, the knowledge of Allah that He's expecting of us is a knowledge that will transform our perspectives on things. The reason why many of us, dear brothers and sisters, on this earth and in this life are unhappy, where our hearts are filled with despair and hopelessness, while we grieve and while we're angry, the reason we experience these bad emotions is because we constantly look at things. We focus on the creation of Allah. We focus on our experiences. The more you focus on them, the more miserable you become. When you come to learn about the names of Allah, what happens? You now stop looking at the things and the experiences. I start looking at Allah behind everything. Instead of looking at the break in my heart, I think of the healer. I think of the wise one who sent that difficulty in my path to make me a better human being, perhaps, to elevate me. I trust now that He's the wise one. He cannot do something random in my life. There must be a good reason. It broadens your perspective. You start trusting Allah is the wise one. This thing could be worse. Allah is behind it. He can never put me in a bad situation for the heck of it. He's the good one, Al-Barr, the one whose deeds, all of His deeds and actions are good. If you understand that, you'll never ever think that something is bad for you. Dear brothers and sisters, you go beyond the experiences to thinking about the Creator. If I am experiencing a problem, I instantly think of the one, as I said earlier, who opens the doors. You see, you go beyond the experience and the imperfections of people and the things you go through to thinking about Allah, Allah, Allah the provider, Allah the merciful, Allah who hears, Allah who answers, Allah who's the wise one who orchestrates everything and plans everything. Your thinking jumps to Allah. And when you start thinking of the attributes of Allah and how Allah is present in your life every second of the way, how He is behind everything, what happens to your heart? Oh subhanAllah, no more despair, no more fear, no more disturbance, no more anger. Your mind jumps to that right away. If you do not know the attributes of Allah, how can you think of these attributes behind these experiences? So wherever you find yourself focusing on the problems and the experiences of your life without thinking about Allah, you're going to be miserable. Whenever you start thinking of Allah and His attributes and the qualities behind those experiences, rest assured you're going to be feeling better. And you're going to be comforted, inshallah. Without struggles and illnesses and loss of things in life, we would not know Allah Azza wa Jalla. We do not sometimes know we need Him, so He sends us those issues and difficulties and needs so that we go back and refer to Him and ask Him, Ya Allah, give me, because I need it. Ya Allah, comfort me, I need it. Ya Allah, secure me. Ya Allah, give me money. Ya Allah, save my child. Ya Allah, heal me. If I didn't have these things, I'll never ask. So alhamdulillah for these things, dear brothers and sisters. Allah provided two means through which we learn about His qualities. Because we emphasize, to know Allah, you need to understand His qualities, His names. What are those names? The Quran, filled with the qualities of Allah and His names. You'll find numerous references to the names of Allah in the Quran. And they're there for a reason. You'll find a passage in the Quran, a story, a meaning, and suddenly it's summarized with 2 or more names of Allah. As if these names summarize all the meanings before. They're treasures. The greatest verse in the greatest of books, the Quran, the divine book of Allah, the greatest verse in it is the one that talks about His qualities the most and allows us to know who Allah is. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. Such is the journey in the Quran, about encountering the names of Allah and stopping there to reflect. What do they mean? Why are they there? That's one means. The other is another realm that we're in that allows us to know the names of Allah. The universe. It's not written, but it's presented as science. Everything in creation, dear brothers and sisters, the trees around us, the darkness of the night, the solid earth we walk on, the clouds that hover around us are pointing to one or more names of Allah. I'll give you an example. The rain that comes. Many of us just think of it as good rain, we're thirsty. But what is the rain saying? The one who sent me is the provider, the merciful one, the provider who'll never deprive. The knowledgeable one who sent it to that spot because that spot of earth needs it. So the rain is sending you messages about the attributes of Allah Azza wa Jalla. The one who dies, that death is sending you a message about Allah and His attributes. What's the message? He never dies. The ever-living one. I love this example of the wind. The wind, dear brothers and sisters, when it's racing at you, a hurricane, what does it speak about Allah? What does it say about Allah? Incredible might of Allah Azza that He turns this wind, this gentle wind, into this mighty thing that can annihilate. So you'll think of the might of Allah Azza. When it's gentle, we don't even see the air. How many of us, dear brothers and sisters, believe that in this room, there's at least half a ton of air? This air is on top of us. There is that much air in this room that we don't even know. Does it feel heavy on you? Do you feel crushed? Why? Because the gentle one, Allah, made it so. The air that you don't even see is speaking about the signs of Allah. So another means through which we know about the names of Allah is through the reflection on the signs of Allah and His creation in everything, even within yourself. Look at how you're designed and fashioned. Look at your composition. It's pointing to the Creator, the Fashioner, the Shaper. Who shaped you that way? The Shaper. He calls Himself the Shaper. The Originator, who originated you out of nothing. So you point to the names of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Your issues in life point to the names of Allah Azza wa Jalla. The sun and the moon point to the names of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And inshallah we'll go through a lot of examples as we go through this series about how Allah manifests Himself and His attributes in the creation around us. Beautiful journey. The problem is we don't know how to reflect, dear brothers and sisters. We're so desensitized, we do not know how to stop for a second in our lives. To just look at the clouds and look at the sun and look at the moon. Ponder upon them and say, indeed, subhanallah. Such a superficial contemplation. Those who contemplate deeper, come closer to Allah Azza wa Jalla and fall in love with Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah is asking us to make dua with these names. Practical thing that Allah wants us to do. وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. Allah is giving us here a key to His treasures. He's saying, to me belong the most beautiful names. Ask me with them. What is the message? Allah's message is simple. I possess the most beautiful qualities. My qualities and attributes are there for you to fulfill your needs. They've always been there for you. So ask me to give you and fulfill those needs of yours through those attributes and names. So if you want guidance, say, Ya Allah, the guide, Al-Hadi, guide me. You want to be forgiven? Don't worry. My forgiveness never changes. Come and say, Ya Ghafoor. Oh, the one who forgives, forgive me. And you'll find me to be forgiving. Oh, you have a problem? Say, Ya Fattah. Oh, Ya Allah who opens doors. Open the door for me. I'm ill. Oh, Ya Allah, the healer. The healer, heal me. So Allah is saying, invoke me with these names. These names will come to the rescue. But never doubt. That's the problem, dear brothers and sisters. He says in the hadith, أَنَا عِنْدَ ظَنِّ عَبْدِي بِي. I am as you think of me. You think I'm going to deal with you like human beings? Alright, that's what you'll get. But if you think, oh, Allah, He's above humanity, He's above creation, He's above anything, He's above my comprehension. I trust fully in His names. They'll never fail me. If I know Allah calls Himself the one who hears, I'll never doubt for a second that He's hearing me. I'll never doubt for a second that He's answering my supplications. I'll never doubt for a second that what He gave me, the problem He gave me is good for me. I'll never doubt He's the provider. One day He'll provide and open the doors. I'll never doubt that I'm going to be going back to Him and He's going to inherit me back and give Jannah if I strive for it. So the more that you trust in these names and invoke Allah with full trust, inshaAllah, dear brothers and sisters, Allah will give you what you're looking for. But at a time prescribed by Allah, according to His wisdom. Because you need to understand and trust the wisdom of Allah Azza wa Jalla. We want the knowledge of the names that bring us into a state of awe of Allah and love of Allah, such that we look forward to seeing Allah one day. Such that our hearts tremble out of love for Allah. Yearning for Allah Azza wa Jalla. That's the type of knowledge of the names that we want. How to bring that into reality? We're going to reflect on the Quran, as we said. Reflect upon the sons of Allah in creation to see how those names manifest themselves in your own lives. So that when you leave after each session, you're going to be thinking, I see the connection of that name to my life. Now the more names that you'll fall in love with, inshallah, the closer you are to Allah Azza wa Jalla. This is the most important subject of your life. Now if you don't think of it as important, what will happen? Allah will take it away. Dear brothers and sisters, what we learn is not from us. Allah allows us to learn. If you feel that you've arrived at an understanding about Allah, it's from Allah. Allah loves you and He's giving you that understanding. Dear brothers and sisters, knowledge is from Allah. So if He's happy with us, He'll make us take the journey. He'll make us strive to learn about these things. He'll make us ask, Ya Allah, teach me. Bring me to a higher level of understanding of those names because they're so incredible and they're so beautiful. It's from Allah, dear brothers and sisters. The greater your appreciation for the names of Allah and the subject, inshaAllah, Allah will give you a better understanding and better insights and make you understand those names better and better. It becomes a journey of life. Incredible journey of joy because you are discovering the Creator of the heavens and the earth. Now ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that He blesses us with knowledge of His names. Now ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that He enlightens our hearts and guides our souls to Him. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that He brings us nearer to Him. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that He exalts our status and rank with Him. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to make us among the righteous. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that He settles our hearts with trust in Him. I ask Allah that He illuminates our hearts with love and adoration for Him and His names and attributes. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that He blesses each and every soul in this room, that He opens doors of understanding, that He allows us to emerge out of this life as winners, as being among those who are beloved to Allah Azza wa Jalla, as being among those who enter into the gates of Jannah, in the company of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that He blesses all of us. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that He opens doors to solve all of our problems. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that He guides us and guides our children and our families. Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen, wa salli Allahumma ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Jazakum Allahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.